Hello students, I am again with you to continue the first unit of the book Indian Economic Development. We have finished the discussion about the previous headings. As you can see in this page, foreign trade is the last unit we have finished. So heading 1.5 we have done, and we are going to carry on the heading 1.6, that is demographic condition. During the British rule, what was the situation of demographic area? What does demography means? It is the study of population of an economy. So how was the population of that time in different aspects? This will be discussed under heading demographic condition. So first of all, we must know that the first time there was any data collected about the population, that is called census, in 1881 under the British rule. Before that, no census was held, no census was organized. So after this data collection, different aspects came into light. First thing, this census was not very accurate and well done. It was in the beginning with certain limitations, not as it is being done today, since it was the first effort, but it gave an insight into the aspects of different things about population. First thing, the growth of population was uneven, means not equally same in different regions. So what was found subsequently, means after this population data collection in 81, every 10 years period this census operation was carried out and data was collected. Now what are the important features about this area? First thing, 1921 is called the demographic transition time. What does it mean, children? Before 1921, the population of India was fluctuating, sometimes increasing, decreasing and so on. But after 1921, it kept on only increasing. However, this increase was not very alarming. It was moderate, little bit. The reason might be that there used to be large number of deaths because of poor standard of living and lack of proper facilities of health care. So death rate might be high. Therefore, the rise in population was not very high or alarming like today. Now what are the other indicators of population which we can know about that time? First thing, literacy rate was very low, that was just 16%, and it was further lower among the females, that was only 7%. It must be here, it was only 7% among females. Now public health facilities were not widely available. Due to this, the diseases spread through water and air very widely, and they used to take high death toll, that is large number of people died. Therefore mortality rate was very high. Mortality rate means it is the rate, or you can say number of people dying per thousand in a year in a country is known as mortality rate. It was very high. It means how many people out of 1000 would die in a year is called mortality rate. Similarly, infant means babies below 1 year, their death rate was very alarming, that is 218 per thousand, which is today 33 per thousand only, because of better facilities in medical science. Life expectancy means average life span used to be only 44 years and today it is 69 years. It does not mean that everyone would die at the age of 44, but average rate of life span of people was around 44 years. It was again due to lack of good facilities to save lives and medical care. Then due to all these indicators, literacy rate, then mortality rate, infant mortality rate and life expectancy, you can say clearly This all specifies, or this all indicates very widespread poverty in India. Due to this, all these features, all these indicators of demography are negative for our economy at the time of British rule. You can simply conclude that British government must not have taken steps to improve literacy rate, to improve uh, medical and healthcare facilities in our country. Now the next aspect we are going to study about the economy on the eve of independence, means during the British rule, is occupational structure. Occupation means profession or job. So how was the distribution of jobs during the British rule in different sectors? Generally, we have different jobs related to primary sector, that is mainly agriculture, fishery and mining. But India is primarily an agricultural economy. So primary sector directly relates to farming sector. Then secondary sector, that is industries, and then tertiary sector, that is service sector, are the three occupational sectors of any economy. These are also known as producing sector. So how was the population engaged in these three sectors? Let us study this now. So there is detail given here that at the time of colonial period, distribution of working persons across different industries and sectors showed very little sign of change. It means it was just like a previous one as it used to be in ancient time. What is first thing? Agriculture sector accounted for, yes children, this is given here a picture of poor standard of living, not proper housing, which is related to demographic features. Now let us carry on. What is the last point? That agriculture used to be the prime source of occupation. Yes, it was the largest share of workforce, around 70 to 75%. Accurate data is around 72 point something, but it is given in a range. It used to vary. 70 to 75% people were engaged in primary sector, farming. Then only 10% in manufacturing, that is industry or secondary sector. Then 15 to 20%, between this range, people were employed in tertiary or service sector. So you can say, even if you take it 70% only, normally it used to be around 73%. If you see the accurate data in reference books, you will find it. So if you take it at 72%, it means out of all the working people, the majority is working in primary sector and very low percentage works in secondary and tertiary sector. This is a negative sign of an economy. Economy is referred to as backward if such distribution of population in workforce is found. Now next thing you will find is the regional growth of different areas of the country was also not balanced. Now this discussion about the growth, about the involvement in occupation is known as unbalanced growth. Growth of different sectors was unbalanced. Only primary sector was much widely spread. Secondary and tertiary were not developed. So this is a kind of unbalanced growth. Now what are the regional growth features? Parts of Madras Presidency, which consists of present time Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kerala and Karnataka. This region was called as Madras Presidency. Then Bombay, Bengal, and in some way you can say Gujarat also. They witnessed a decline in dependence on agriculture because these were primarily developed areas compared to other areas of the country. It means service and tertiary sector and secondary sector was little better in these areas compared to other states of the country. But later on, share of agriculture increased in Orissa, Rajasthan and Punjab because Punjab is a agricultural state. Then later on, due to poverty, Orissa and Rajasthan, there were no industries and tertiary sector development. they shifted more to the primary sector. It means again growth is not balanced. Some areas are little better in secondary and tertiary sector, while majority of the states are related to primary sector. Now the next discussion of the economy is about infrastructure. What is infrastructure, children? Infrastructure includes those facilities which help in economic activities. Example, roads, railways, water transport, banking, communication, etc. So how was infrastructure during the British rule? Now you can imagine that during the British rule there was little improvement in the infrastructure, just as railways, ports are the water transport, post and telegraph were developed. So these transportation and communication means were developed, but they were not developed with the purpose of giving facilities, amenities to the Indians, but they were to serve for colonial benefits. Example, roads, railways and ports would help the British in transporting their army and officers for controlling India strongly, and also for carrying raw material from Indian farms to the ports for carrying to England, and from those ports again bringing back their finished goods to the Indian market. So they were the purpose behind building these facilities was British interest, not Indians benefit. Besides, these things were not very fit and modernized like today. You can just imagine it was quite long time ago, about 100 years, you can say not 100 years, 70 years ago. So it was not very modern and developed. And roads were mainly for mobilizing the army, as I told you, and raw material from countryside to the railway station, then to port. That is again I discussed. Similarly, the roads in the villages were not very well constructed. These were generally kacha roads. These were not available for traveling during rainy seasons. These were temporary roads, and these were not all weather roads. And during natural calamities, famines, these villages were sometimes cut off from the cities, and they could not get connection with the cities, and it gave them a lot of trouble. Then railways was introduced in 1850, and again its purpose was for British interest, not for Indians benefits, but still some benefits came as side effect. For example, Indians could travel longer distances now, and this helped in breaking geographical and cultural barriers. Means people met from one state to another, they could travel and they could learn about their cultural and social life, and this created a kind of national integration feeling among the people. Besides this, agricultural commercialization also was promoted due to railways, and during the time of famines, food could be transported for the suffering areas. So this was the positive impact of railways. Now, railways also helped in increasing exports from India to England and other countries, but its benefits were not for Indians, that we need to remember again. It was for the benefits of the British. This is the picture of railway bridge which was built between Bombay and Thane in 1854. Now Indian gained these social benefits, but the cost was they had to lose economic benefits, economic loss. What was the loss? That this railway transport would help in British economic benefits. This next paragraph is telling you about the construction of canals, water transports. They have given an example that a canal was built on Orissa coast. Coast means sea line, near the sea, what is the land area? That is known as coast. So Orissa coast, on this place a coast canal was built, but it was not successful because its cost was very high for government fund. Government exchequer means government fund. So it was very expensive, but it did not work just like railways work. So later on again railways were needed there. So this was abandoned, means it was not carried on, it was closed, or you can say it was out of use. Then later on electric telegraph and post office services were introduced, but again the purpose was to serve the British interest, like giving messages about the revolts or some other official messages, so that they could hold strongly over India politically and economically. Now they have the last section, heading 1.9 as conclusion. This conclusion again revises the points we have studied throughout the chapter. The first point is agriculture sector was already burdened with surplus labor, means unwanted labor was employed, that is about 70% in agriculture, and due to that per head production was very low. It means more people were producing very little amount in agriculture. Then industrial sector was crying for modernization, means it was very backward and it slowly decayed and died out, and there was no capacity building, means there were no heavy industries and there was no investment. Foreign trade was for the benefits of industrial revolution of England. Infrastructure was improved, but it was not very advanced. Besides, it helped in serving British instead of Indians, and this all indicates that there was widespread poverty and unemployment in India. So this is the end of the chapter, children. Now you have the next box here. This is your homework. This is the recap or revision of whole chapter. You need to read it very carefully. This will be available to you as PDF and you can download, then read it please. I am going to discuss through this exercise and other things by different messages in the further communication, and I will guide you about the preparation of notes and other things. Okay, thank you children. So please download this PDF and have a reading on your own. I have explained to you. If you have doubts, you can contact me through the messages. Thank you.